Boys, I've been driving this thing for a week now. It's time to give y'all an updaters. This video is mostly for my regulars. If you're new to the channel, I'm a very much Ram Cummins guy, and we utilize a lot of those units in our business. Well, I decided to test out an L5P. So here we go. I was driving along, just had to do a video, so that's why this video is very spontaneous. But to my regulars, you guys know how much I love my Cummins and all, but here we are. We're at a week, 232 miles. It's not all the miles I did. That's just a reset from the fuel up. But anyways, let me carry on my way. But before I do that, I just kind of give you a walk around and jump in my truck and talk for a minute. There's nothing done to this truck besides basic maintenance, and I'm not done with it. I haven't done the transmission service yet or the front diff, but that's about it. I'm not too worried about the front diff because it's not being utilized at the current moment, but I'll get to the tranny here in the nearest future. Background story: it was utilized by a local excavation company, and they were involved in an accident. If you haven't seen my other videos, so kind of tore up the doors and took out the rear axle and the bed. So that's what we did. We got that. Had a local fella, friend of a friend, fix this corner this corner. It was decently caved in, but you can't even tell. For a work truck, guys, I couldn't ask for more. It's a solid truck. It's clean. Nothing's beat to crap. I have to put a different bumper on it. Couldn't get my hands on at the moment with bumpers with sensors, so I just threw this thing on. And we got Benny with us today. Oh, he actually fixed a dent in here for me. As you can tell, it's nice and clean. Look at that. That's his paint job, and that's the original paint. I'd say he did really well. Maybe in the camera it kind of differentiates it, but this is all OEM paint, and you kind of see it differentiates too because of the angles and everything. But guys, for a work truck, I couldn't be happier. She ain't perfect. She has scratches. But Benny, hey, scoot over, buddy. Nothing that will affect a good working truck. I went around and cleaned her up. She was a bit filthy. You know, there's a lot of dog hair, and it was a company truck, and looks like, I'm not quite sure if the owner drove it or somebody, but the truck was definitely being worked, so a lot of dirt and grime. I like to keep my trucks clean, and you have this here, right? I promise, guys, I try to keep my trucks clean, but I can't remember where, but I was in some muddy area. But yeah, let's talk about this equipment. And primarily a Cummins guy, how does he like this Duramax in his first impressions, right? I was very specifically after L5P. If I was gonna try a Duramax, it needed to be a real Duramax with a real Allison. I don't mean to throw any shade at the 10 speeds, but that's not a real Allison. Just because Allison endorsed it doesn't make it a real one. Yes, it's up to their standards and all, but anywho's, to answer your question, why I didn't buy a brand new one, I was specifically looking for a 17 through 19. Came across this deal. As I told you in the video, it was involved in an accident. It was not the front end. The front end was missing a bumper, so I'm guessing the original owner had an aftermarket bumper. And I really like what this guy did in. Kind of flattened out there and stays parked there. That's pretty cool. So for me, that was very important that the front end was not compromised. Based from what I'm gathering, the front end's a little loose, not on the steering wheel, but lower ball joint's making a little noise. It was picked up in there. The wheel was inspected, you know, your typical wheel inspection, meaning up and down, left to right, kind of no play. I don't feel any play in the steering wheel, but I feel something loose. So it's kind of funny to even say it this way. I might end up working on this thing more than what I inspected. And what I mean by that, you know, put some Bilstein shocks, put proper suspension, because previous owner had 20x10s on here. The reason I know that because I got one of the damaged wheels when the truck was wrecked in the bed of the truck. And he looks like to replace the keys, because I like my trucks at a rake, so I gave it about an inch rake, where when I restored this thing and without touching the keys, one key was, someone did mess with one of the keys, but the other one was preset. And overall, this truck was sitting level, and I didn't like that. So I lowered the keys and, you know, backed off as much as I could, reasonably. And they're like 3/4 of the way backed out. So now it's about an inch, give or take about 1.25 inches at a rake. So the front end sits a little bit low. So with that being said, that's the front end suspension. I will take care of that. But initial, you know, that's what you guys want to hear, and I better stay focused on that. Initial impressions, guys. I don't mean to insult anyone or, you know, trash on anyone or, you know, glorify something. Low key, I'm enjoying this old man's truck. That's the best way I could say it. It's very smooth, a lot smoother than the Cummins, to my surprise. Hence, that's what I was thinking. I'm thinking about working on it. You know, put some Bilstein shocks all around, some arm controls, new bushings, and all that. I know that will definitely improve my ride. I'm having a hard time multitasking, so I'll kind of pull over and talk about it. Excuse me. So with that being said, the cab kind of sucks, guys. I don't know what GM was thinking. The cab's noticeably smaller, and a father of 4 kids. Benny, how's the front seat? He's good, he's shy. But it is quiet. I took apart the door panels, and GM definitely did it right with their insulation, and the cab is fairly quiet, but it is smaller in the back, so it definitely falls behind Ram and Ford on that part. The power is very linear. It's a much quicker, the Duramax is a much quicker truck than the Cummins, but it's, you know, I daily drive a 5th gen. It has a 21 5th gen. The low end on that 5th gen is just brutal compared to this thing. This thing's very, I don't want to say soft, but it's much softer, noticeably softer. You know, the revs go a little higher just dailying it around. And so there's trade-offs, but it's not necessarily trade-offs. To each their own, right? A guy that loves low-end torque, the guy that buys a diesel because of low-end torque, is gonna be biased towards the Cummins. A guy that kind of likes a snappier, quicker, whippersnapper kind of truck, you know, book it and go. And this is definitely the truck. It's a much quicker truck. I'll give you a little sneak peek of my thought process. My next truck that I'm gonna test either is the newest GM or the newest Ford. Just in the comment section, let me know what's the next truck you guys want me to buy, specifically for this reason. I literally bought this L5P not to switch out my Mega Cab 5th Gen for. No, this is just a truck I'm gonna test out. Give or take about a couple months, that's what I'll be testing it for. Get a good baseline of fuel efficiency, power, reliability. Well, reliability is kind of hard to tell because A, this thing was bought used. I could tell I had a working life, a hard working life. The gooseneck was used in an accident. You know, while I was in the accident, the gooseneck was used because something's up with the ball. Either it was broken or bent, the guys were telling me. So anyways, so with that being said, I'll do my best, give it a couple months. No, guys, my Mega Cab 5th Gen isn't going anywhere. I love that thing. Drove it last night. It was definitely a nicer truck, but you can't compare 17 versus 21. If I'm going to compare 21 Cummins, I need to compare it with the 21 Duramax. But if you put the 17 Duramax up against the 17 4th gen, you know, it's a lot more relevant. So the 4th gen is going to have more space, more cab space. It's not as it's not as quick. So if I could say it in short, the Duramax is a better daily and the Cummins is a better working truck. Wow, that's a lot of news. No, Paul, it's literally that, because that 4th gen has still more torque than this thing has in low end. If you're the kind of guy that likes the tractor performance that the Cummins offers. Let's get back at it. Benny, can you buckle up? So with that being said, the gas mileage really stood out to me, guys. I can't give you strong data, right? Like I was saying, this is my gas. Oh, look at that. We got some deer cruising around here. That gas mileage for the fuel tank. Prior to that mileage, I want to say I did 60 or 80 miles prior to that. So that's total miles. I'm give or take about 300 miles on this truck for this week. That's very low mileage. It's not enough mileage to say, oh yeah, this is some hardcore data. But I know a lot of you guys are curious about my impressions and what I think and whatnot about being a daily. Now, my next step is towing with it. I am going out of town with it tomorrow. It's going to be empty highway drive. Well, partially empty. It's going to be a car trailer. An empty car trailer is what it's going to be, really. But that being said, so we'll collect some data there and see how she does on that empty ride. It's going to be about an 800 mile round trip. So it'll give me a good idea. But the gas mileage, guys, something's really weird about this gas mileage. So the first 60 or 80 miles, I can't remember. And I think the reason I can't remember because either it was 68 when I reset it or 86. So hence I'm coming to that 60, 80, like it's screwing with me. Those were the first miles I've done, and this thing kind of just hung out between 9 and 13 miles to gallon. Guys, this is why it's super important to service your truck. And I'm like, dude, that can't be right. So I did fuel filter, I did intake filter, I did an oil change, Schaefer's 1540 oil change, and my guys got me a Wix, the high-end Wix filter, which is a good filter. I have nothing against that. And once I did that fluid change, I also did put a fresh tank of fuel. Diesel's not so prone about aging as gasoline is, but guys, it's pretty rough. Make sure you keep up on, I mean, this situation was pretty rough. Make sure you keep up on your maintenance. If I had to take a stab at it, I think the mileage difference all came from the intake filter. Now, let me shed a little bit more light. Some of you guys are going to be interested. So, from 9 to 12 miles to gallon is where I was hanging in. That was all straight up in town. Nothing in the bed. As you guys notice, I have a little quad in the bed. I did not have that quad in the bed then. And I didn't tow anything. Now, the interesting part was I was hanging out 17, 18 miles to the gallon because I fueled up the prior night to put in that quad in my that little quad. It's a 250 Honda, so what does it weigh? Maybe 300 pounds? I don't think it even weighs that, but that's not the point. The point is I hung out 17 to 18 the whole time. Yesterday, or day before yesterday, I took out a trailer, my dump trailer full of tires, you know, got up on the freeway, and that dragged it down to 16. So after that, it was pretty much hanging out around 16. I idle this truck a lot today, so hence you got 15.7. But I feel like if I were to get on the highway a little bit like I am towards end of today, I feel like I'll pull it up about 16.65. Just taking a stab at it. But keep in mind, what did it take? It took fuel, intake, oil change, and hence we got the good gas mileage. But the key is I'm testing now. This is a horrible test because I never had a baseline to go off of, but accidentally my local Chevron dealer, instead of giving me the concentrated gasoline cleaner, gave me the concentrated diesel cleaner. I didn't want to return. I'm like, well, heck, let's test this. I still needed to clean out the system, right? So I put in a dose of that. What I am going to do for you guys is a dose of that cleaner. The next 3 fuel ups are just going to be plain diesel fuel ups. I will average that gas mileage strictly on the interstate with those 800 miles. I feel like that's going to be a solid 2 tanks worth of fuel, but you know, on the third one we'll get it. So we'll get that database or that baseline in our data, a little recording. I literally got notes for everything, guys, and I keep track of it. So after those 3 tanks, I will try the Chevron, and I'll be able to tell you if it's that significant. Benny, just a minute. Let me wrap up. We'll wrap up this video, and we'll go back and have lunch. Okay, we're gonna go to the bathroom. Hang on. So that's the best info. Very limited knowledge with these Duramaxes, but that's how I was able to get the gas mileage that I'm getting. And as you could tell, I drive around town a lot with that little Honda. I was lazy because I need to haul that Honda about 150 miles tomorrow. And once I drop that Honda, I need to go another 250 to drop that car trailer that I was talking about, so hence my highway driving. So with that in mind, I have a feeling this Duramax is going to get a little bit better gas mileage than the Cummins of this year. I feel like I might be wrong. That's just my speculation at this point. I think the Cummins is going to be hard to beat on the interstate. and the Duramax is going to have the Cummins around town. That's just the feeling I'm getting, because pup hunting around town, doing what I do with my 5th gen, I kind of hang out 15 miles to the gallon. But I just told you I was hanging out 17, 18 for a good while until I hooked up to that trailer. So I definitely need some miles. I definitely need some experience under my belt. And as far as the way I utilize this truck, that's something that a lot of people neglect. Yeah, I get this mileage, I get that mileage. Your mileage is irrelevant if you don't calculate, or you don't acknowledge the use that you have out of this truck. Of course you're going to get better gas mileage rolling around empty versus me even hauling that car trailer, you know, stuff like that. It's very important. Anyways, boys, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm going to be testing a lot of things on a Duramax, and having the abundance of knowledge that I have with the Cummins, it's going to be really easy for me to compare. So in the comment section, specific areas you want me to test the Duramax in, I will gladly do it. Keep in mind, if you're new to the channel, I got a bunch of trailers, man. You know, I was talking to my operations manager the other day. We own over 30 goosenecks. As you can tell, all these goosenecks are lined up for today to be inspected and serviced. Anyways, boys, as always, if you're new to the channel, check out my other videos. You'll see what I'm talking about. I'm very much involved in hot shotting and diesel mechanicking, but most of my videos are reviewing. This is a really cool trailer. This is a full 40-foot tilt. I'll show you some videos of it once I use it. My videos are mainly, you know, diesels and the way they get utilized. That's all there. All right, guys. God bless you. Have a mighty fine day. Ciao. Bye.